Okay, I just want to say welcome to everybody again tonight, Tuesday, July the 5th. We just had July 4th. Katie's on here with us tonight, and she asked me how my weekend was, and I didn't know we had a weekend. So I don't know, being retired all the time, it's kind of like you got the weekend all the time. But anyway, hey, you might notice tonight the new fluorescent shirt. Kathy picked me up some new shirts for the webcast. I'd like to get some feedback in the chat room tonight. Oh, hey, Kathy, would you turn the lights on, please? Our studio lights are out. Sorry, guys. I'd like to get a report from everybody out there, and if the shirt is too bright, we'll try to issue some sunglasses to future webcasts that we have. But as I said, Katie Allen, WY7YL, is back with us tonight, and it's going to be a good show. Want to welcome everybody listening on international shortwave station WBCQ up in Monticello, Maine. They're on 5130 kilohertz. If you're listening, send us an email to tom@w5kub.com, tom@w5kub.com. Tell us how you're hearing us and where you're hearing us. We've had reports from the UK and in Costa Rica recently. So let's see if we can find some new people out there listening. Join our webcast if you're listening. Join us on w5kub.com if you have a computer, and you can watch the show and see our guest, and you can take part in the chat room with us. Let's see what else. Oh, hey, I put a link up at the top of the website. It says Facebook, Twitter. The other link was so small at the bottom of the page that nobody could find it. So there's a link up there at the top that says Facebook. Please click on it. You can join our Facebook group for the webcast. It's just a ham radio hangout. You can do ham radio stuff in there, put your pictures, your shack in there, talk ham radio, and it will also help you to see what's coming up on our show and any special events. Let's see what else is going on. We had field day this past weekend. Was it this past weekend, Katie?
No, it was
weekend before.
No, wait a minute. No, it was already a week ago.
Was it? Oh man, I'm lost. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I've lost track of time.
I've lost track too. Okay. So anyway, let's see what we can do here. I'm gonna try to juggle things here tonight. We got Kathy in here with us tonight. She's watching the chat room and giving me pointers and stuff and telling me where I should be looking and stuff like that. So I'll try to follow her instructions there. So let's see what we got here tonight. Let me talk just a little about our first guest here tonight. And let me see if I get the right mouse here. We will get Jim on here with us. And that should be here. There's a good shot of Katie. There we go. Now we got Jim in here. Okay, let me tell you a little about Jim. Let's see. Jim George. The guy's got two first names. What do you think about a guy like that? Jim George is on here with us tonight. N3BB. He is a writer, and he's been an avid amateur radio enthusiast for over half a century. He got his license, I think, back in the 1950s. And he has a special love for Morse code and radio sporting all the way since he was a teenager. He started out his hobby like many of us do, listening to shortwave, and that's exactly where we are tonight. We're on shortwave radio, so hopefully we can help someone out there to take that step to get their ham license. So he started his hobby listening to shortwave broadcast and long-distance AM stations. He's a graduate of Virginia Tech. He was president of the Virginia Tech Amateur Radio Club, and he was inducted into the Virginia Tech Academy of Engineering after serving as the chairman of the advisory board for both electrical and computer engineering. He likes the Virginia Tech sports. He completed his graduate studies at the University of Arizona State University, specializing in semiconductor materials and physics. And George worked for a company I'm sure many of you know the name. It was Motorola. His professional career was primarily at Motorola, where he worked in the semiconductor business for about 40 years and served as a corporate vice president for nearly 15 years. And let's see, following his retirement, he was a founding member and served several years on the advisory board for KUT FM. That was the public radio station down at the University of Texas at Austin. He enjoys reading and writing. He's been a member of a men's book club here in Austin for over a decade. And he and his wife live in the hill country west of Austin. They've got 3 grown children and 5 grandchildren. So, hello, Jim. How are you tonight?
Hello, Tom, and hello, Katie, through the magic of Skype.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, what a background. You're retired. Now you can rest a little bit, have some fun with ham radio.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. You've written a book. And we'll get into all the details there in a few minutes about. I think the title of it is a contact sport.
Yes.
Actually, it has a much longer title, and you can give us the entire title in just a few minutes. But hey, George, hey, I had a friend. Let me tell you, I got to tell you a story. I had a friend when I grew up. His name was George. He had two first names. So I'm sorry if I call you the wrong name there, James. So back to James, George. Jim George, back to you. Tell us about how you got started in ham radio. I mean, you listened to shortwave, and I guess that was just the magic, right?
You know, it's probably similar to many people that, you know, my high school class was 1960. Grew up in a small town on the southern border of West Virginia, about 5 miles from Virginia, Princeton, West Virginia. And my parents had an old Magnavox. You know, it was one of these things in a great big cabinet with knurled knobs, and it looked manly, you know. And it had a record player. I never heard them ever play a single record. It had AM, FM, and shortwave, the shortwave band, one shortwave band. And, you know, it was fascinating to hear the Voice of America and the BBC, and that's back during the Cold War with the Soviet Union, and the Radio Moscow used to have a relay station in Havana, and then, you know, there was Deutsche Welle and a lot of things I didn't understand in other languages. But that was just, there was something magic to me about hearing a voice come in, and the voices would come in and up and down, and, you know, it would fade in and fade out. And I didn't have any idea what was causing that, or why some signals came in at night only and some came in the day better. And, you know, to me, it was just fantastic. And then one day I was in a Boy Scout group, and one day our Boy Scout master said, "Hey, tonight we're going to go visit a ham radio operator." To be honest, I didn't know what that was. I may have vaguely heard about it. And, you know, we went and visited this man who became my mentor. There's a ham radio word for it called an Elmer. An Elmer is this magic, respected senior elder term. And my elder was probably in the mid-50s at the time, when I was, 15. And he was an old school, old style gentleman, very formal and wonderful man. He made a big impact on me, and I just felt like I had descended into his basement with my Boy Scout troop into this Nautilus-like control room of glowing mercury vapor rectifier tubes and radios and Morse code keys and microphones, and it would hum like and, wow, I thought, that's really cool. I want to be a radio man myself. I want to be a radio guy. And, one thing led to another. He was the one that advised me, and he gave me my novice license. The license came in March, I think, of 1958. And it just is something that's intrigued me my whole life. And to make a very long story short, it led to me sort of by default choosing electrical engineering in college. I'm not sure I knew what I wanted to do. And so, being a good scout, I followed through, and here we are today.
Well, I'll say this. That was a great time to get into ham radio. I think you got in, I believe you mentioned to me 1958, somewhere
Yes.
in the late 50s. I was in a little after that in '64. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. You know, building projects, those vacuum tube regulators that glowed, and you know, the tubes and all those kind of things, and you know, it's just some good old times. I mean, no SWR meters back then. We just made it work. You know, no computers, nothing like that. But you know, it still is fun being a ham today, I think. And there's many different aspects of ham radio, and one of them is contesting and the sport of contesting, and I think that's what we're talking about tonight. I have not read the book yet. Katie has read the book and was very impressed with it. Let me put the book. I'm gonna put the book up there. Picture of it for people out there. It's called Contact Sport: A Story of Champions, Airwaves, and a One-Day Race Around the World. So if anybody's interested, I was looking. You can buy that book just about anywhere. Mm-hmm. So Katie, what's one of your first questions that you'd like to throw at Jim?
Well, I don't know if it was a question, but one of the things I found interesting, besides the entire book, but I wanted to kind of figure out what brought you to writing it first. And so I looked you up a little bit more and saw that you were actually previously a participant in a WRTC. Is that correct?
That's correct, both as a competitor and as a referee on separate occasions.
What was the experience like when you were actually a participant? When you actually got to be there, when you were writing the book, did you kind of like feel like you were back doing it again, or thinking, oh, thank God I'm not doing some of that again? Or
Well, I had a chance to compete in the year 2000. I was invited by a team captain in Pennsylvania to join him, and at that time the contest was in Slovenia. And Slovenia had relatively recently become independent after the Yugoslavian Civil War, and you know, the old Yugoslavia broke apart into 4 or 5 different countries. It was very peaceful, a beautiful, beautiful country. It reminded me a lot of my home state of West Virginia. But it's funny. It was a thrilling opportunity, but I'm not sure I enjoyed it because of the pressure. It was hard to relax. It was hard to have a good time. We took tours. Everybody took tours, both before and after. One of the tours we took afterwards, we went to Venice over in Italy, went through the Dolomite Mountains.
Oh, wow.
But to make a long story short, there was a lot of pressure, and we were in such a wonderful location. We were up on the top, the very top of one of the mountain areas. We were at 850 meters above sea level. What's that? That's roughly 2,700 feet, something like that. And ironically, my hometown in West Virginia is roughly at 2,700 feet. Although in Slovenia, 2,700 feet is frankly more spectacular, because you were looking right out over this hill crest into the Alps, which was the border with Austria. And literally about 30 miles away, there's this vast mountain range, which was probably 3,000 meters, no trees, and that was the Austrian border. And there was an old church on top of this hill, and every hour the Carillion bells would sing out the time, you know, the number, the time of day by hours, and it was just an amazing experience. But we had a tremendously serious storm during the 24 hours. They called it. That was the year when Lance Armstrong was in the Tour de France, and they called it winter in July, because it snowed all the way down to right about 1,000 meters. So it snowed down to roughly 3,000 feet. Wow. We got on our 850 meter hilltop. We got sleet in about 33 degrees Fahrenheit. but it was spectacular, and just I'll never forget the whole experience.
Who was your teammate in that competition?
The teammate was Allen Danziger. His call is November 3 Alpha Delta, a well-known contester in the Frankfurt Radio Club from Philly.
Sure.
And of course, my three, the three in my call, I'm not from Pennsylvania, but a job change took me and my family back there for about 7 years. And I met Allen, and I was a member of the Frankfurt Radio Club there. And that's basically where I was introduced to radio contesting. And so Allen asked me to join him, and it was an honor to do so.
Oh, that's terrific. And did you primarily operate the CW portion, or did you do both while you were competing?
That was the one and the only WRTC, World Radio Sport Team Championship, where the rules were very different from the other ones. Usually in one of these contests, you can switch back and forth. It doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. In this particular one in Slovenia, they came up with a set of rules that personally I don't like. The rules said that roughly half, I'm going to make it simple, roughly half the score was judged on your voice ranking, okay, from number one to number last. Mm-hmm. You got max points on number one, and it was degraded down to there on the fraction. So half the score was on voice only, and half the score was on Morse code only. Wow. And Allen is a terrific phone operator, and probably better than I am, and I probably have a little edge on Morse code. So we decided he would do the voice and I would do the Morse code. So basically he did 99.9% of the phone operation, and I did 99% of the Morse code operation, even though we could have mixed, but the rules were such that we didn't. So on that one only, I did Morse code.
So, hey Jim, I have a question. How do you get selected to be on one of these teams?
Well, that's a fantastic question. Yeah. At the time, in the year 2000, the Slovenian group that organized the contest, they decided they would award a team slot to basically the major radio contesting teams. Radio contesting clubs around the world. And so the Potomac Valley Radio Club got one, the Yankee Clipper Contest Club got one, the Frankfurt Radio Club got one, the Florida group got one, the one in Kansas City got one, the Southern Cal group, the Northern Cal group. I don't remember how many came from the United States, but let me just kind of wave my hands and say, 12 or 13 or 14, something like that. And they dispersed these throughout the rest of the world, Asia, Africa, Oceania, and Australia. And so the Frankfurt Radio Club got one, and they had a qualifying contest, and Allen ended up with the highest score. So he was able to choose anybody he wanted to. And I was living in Austin at the time, and had been here probably, I'd been here by that time 15 years. And so he asked me if I would be his team member, because my local radio club here in Texas, we did not get a slot. And so I was honored to be his teammate. Now, Tom, to take that question to the present time, it's much, much different. And I think much better. Fundamentally, there is a qualifying process. It's basically a giant meritocracy, I suppose. This contest this Olympics thing occurs once every 4 years. And so the first 3 of the 4 years, there are all these qualifying events. It'd be like a pro golfer or a pro tennis player, and you qualify by doing these other events, and who has the highest qualifying score, they get to be the team captain in the WRTC, and then they can pick anybody they want to. So nowadays, the U.S., to make a long story short, gets approximately 10 spots, and you qualify for that in year 1, 2, and 3, and then in year 4, the winner of that qualification process in the 10 slots, they pick their teammate and off they go. But then it was awarded to the big, well-known radio contesting clubs.
Is there limits on power and things like that?
Yes, it's sort of a back to the basics contest. The maximum power for ham radio operators in the United States, and it's a pretty high number, but it's 1,500 watts, 1.5 kilowatts. That's what we're allowed to use as an output power. But in this particular contest, they set the limit at 100 watts, only 100 watts. And they give each of the teams, you have to take your own radio, you have to take your own microphone, like you would take this headset thing I'm using, and you take your own computer, and you take your own little gadget to send Morse code with. However, more or less everything else is furnished. You get a spot to operate, you get a tent, you get a table, you get chairs, you're provided a generator, you're provided a porta potty, and the antenna systems are all identical. There were 59 teams in the one in New England. All 59 teams have exactly the same antenna. It's a Yagi antenna. Looks like that up on a thing, up at about 50 feet on a tower. It's pretty modest but fairly effective, plus a couple of dipole wire antennas for the other two frequencies, which are 7 megahertz and 3.5 megahertz. So all in all, five antennas for 5 different frequencies. And the picture you just put up on your screen for the audience, I think that's the 2 German women. Yes, that's a German team, Sandy Raker and Irina Stieber. And that particular shot was taken in the morning. You notice they've got blankets on. It is daylight, but they've got blankets on. It's chilly. That was Sunday morning, and that's them operating at their station.
Yeah. Here's another shot here.
That's John Crivelli.
Yeah, that's a very interesting group. The fellow on the right. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about this group. The fellow on the left is a very well-known ham operator and a very well-known civic leader from Houston, Texas. That's George DeMontron, who is an automobile and an RV dealer in Houston. And his call letter is November Radio 5 Mike, NR5M. And his station is at an old family ranch about halfway between Houston and Austin in round numbers. He has a huge setup there. The guy on the right, his teammate with the headband, the hippie fella, that's John Crivelli, W2GD, W2 Golf Delta. And John, in fact, Crivelli was the keynote speaker back in late May at the gigantic Dayton, Ohio Ham Fest. He was the keynote speaker at the contest banquet with a standing room or a sitting room only crowd of 500 people. Now, they're a team for a lot of reasons. So they get along well, but Crivelli is a professional tower and antenna guy. He has done a lot of things in his life, but he's currently a professional in building antenna systems and maintaining them. And DeMontron is a good operator, but he doesn't want to fool with that stuff and probably shouldn't be on a tower anyhow. But they were a team, and one more thing. Let me go back to them if you would, because they were one of the 4 sponsored teams. Everybody had to qualify with a couple of exceptions. One being the former champions of the one 4 years ago, which are Russians. And George DeMontron decided to sponsor a team. He's a busy man, and he had the facilities to do that. So he sponsored one of the 4 teams, and he invited Crivelli, the hipster, there to be his teammate.
All right, and what would this be?
Those are the fellows. Well, that was another sponsored team. The guy on the left is Tom Georgens. His call is W2 Sugar Charlie, W2SC. Until just recently, Tom was the CEO of a huge high-tech telecommunications company in California, in Silicon Valley, in Danville. The fella in the middle is Dave Mueller. He's a Coast Guard warrant officer currently stationed in Honolulu with his family. And that's another sponsored team. Tom Georgens is a very busy guy. He doesn't have a station at home in California. He has a station on a rural little farmette he owns on the island of Barbados down in the Caribbean. And then the guy on the right is a character. That's who is that? It's ZS6 Echo Zulu. He's a South African, and he was their referee. Katie, what's his name? It slips me right now.
I'm having a brain fart too. I don't know.
Okay. Well, anyhow, that's another of the sponsored team. Interesting people.
I was trying to read his name tag. It's very small. Dave, maybe, I don't know. I'm.
Somebody look it up on QRZ and put it in the chat room.
I'll look it up.
What's it called? No, we'll look it up. We'll look it up. What was it called? ZS2. No.
Yeah, that's no, I didn't have his name. ZS6 Echo Zulu.
Okay. All right. Very good. I have some pictures here. No specific order
it's
for
Chris
you.
Berger. His name is Chris Berger. It just came to me.
Oh,
There
okay.
it is. Yep.
No specific order here, but I thought we'd just throw some pictures out. I think this is maybe you up at Dayton this year, right?
Yeah, that's a cool picture. That's me. That's me on your left, and the lady in the middle is Sandy Raker, Delta Lima 1 Quebec DL1 QQ, and she was at Dayton along with another German fella, and they were fundraising for the next one of these Olympic type championships, which will be in 2018, and it will be in Germany. And so the Germans have agreed to host it and sponsor it, and she was raising money and has been around the world raising money. A charming lady. She was a member of the German FBI for a long time. That's not literally what it is, but she worked for the state in criminal investigation, and now she still does criminal investigation with her in her home region due to family constraints to come back. The guy on your right is Bob Wilson. His call is N6 TV. That's N6 television. That's we all know him as TV Bob, and TV Bob was the event official photographer at in New England, and he took all the photographs, and probably 2/3 of my 59 photographs in the book were taken by Bob Wilson. He came by, and he must be magic. The guy, I think he's retired from IBM now, but he works in Silicon Valley. And he came by, and all of a sudden, I have to say he's magic, because crowds kept coming by to buy my book, and he and I both signed them. And he kept track of how many books he signed. And in 2 hours, we both signed 25 books, which is great.
Yeah.
So, hey, TV Bob, thank you. You're always welcome. And that's awesome. That's myself and TV Bob pretending to sign a book at Dayton.
All right. Well, hey, I think that's all the pictures I had that you sent me. But I have not had a chance yet to look at the book, but you say it's loaded with pictures, huh?
Yeah. By the way, I sent you one more, which is a picture of my operating position. I'm not sure if you have that one there or not, but I think I attached it to an email, but it doesn't really matter.
I'm going to look for it. Katie, you guys go ahead. I'm going to find a picture real quick.
Well,
okay.
What was your, Katie, what was this question?
I think he's going to look for a photo, but I think maybe the next line of questioning, if you will, would be kind of like, so you go from being a participant, back in 2000 and, living your life and what have you. How did it come about that you decided to write this book?
Well, again, as I mentioned before, I was a participant in Slovenia, and then I went back in Helsinki, Finland, and I was a referee for an Italian team. So I've seen it both with the pressure of trying to do well and being under the competitive pressure, and then being a referee for a team. And, it's tough. You got a lot of pressure on yourself. And I had decided when I retired from work at age 60, I really enjoyed reading. I just became almost a fanatic, voracious reader, and I was lucky enough to be invited into a relatively small book club here in Austin. There are only 13 of us, 13 guys, and wow, I mean, we're sort of fanatics and sort of crazy. We read 2 books a month. One is fiction and one is nonfiction, and I like them both. So I started reading a lot and thought to myself, you know what? I think I could do this. That's how, I guess that's the hubris of not knowing what you're doing. And so I started writing, and I wrote for 10 years, sort of basically a fictional memoir, which is an improper thing to say because memoirs by definition are nonfiction. But it's a story about growing up in an unusual time in an unusual place. It was a wonderful small town. It was during, fast cars and rock and roll and all the things you go through, and it has a little bit of ham radio in it, the magic of radio waves. But the serious part of it was that's when our area went from a segregated school system to a desegregated school system when the civil rights law was passed and was implemented. And, I was a sophomore in high school when the black kids came into our school, and I didn't know any black kids, and very, very few of us did. It was sort of like they had their life and we had ours, and, we were sort of non-diverse. That we had no Latinos. It was basically a white Anglo-Saxon place in the Appalachian Mountains. And so the story involves a rock and roll band, and this fella comes into the band. In the book, he's called R.C. Peterson, and he turns out to be a prince of a guy. To this day, we're friends, and he still lives in the same hometown. And so the book talks about being exposed to a different type of person and having your eyes opened to diversity. And in addition, the other serious thread is the father-son relationship, which was terrible. The son, namely me, resented his father because the father just wasn't there, he thought, although it turns out by the end of the book, turns out his father was there. His father was an alcoholic. And I wrote this book over 10 years, over 19 revisions. It started out this monstrosity of 192,000 words and ended up 19 revisions later at 84,000 words. And I write all of my stuff with a ballpoint pen and handwriting. Later, I taught myself in a horrible typist way to get it into the database, but everything is written by hand with a ballpoint pen. And I didn't have an agent, couldn't get an agent. Nobody knew who I was. I probably wasn't very good. Who cared? And so I self-published the book, and it did really very well. It did very well. It's been picked by a number of book clubs, and I've traveled and I've done things, and it was a wonderful experience. And it turns out, and I'm finally getting to the book context part now, so bear with me. It turns out that a K1DG, who is Doug Grant up in New Hampshire, I've known Doug casually, and we weren't close friends, but I've certainly known him and respect him and know who he is. He contacted me and he said, "Look, I'm the CEO of the WRTC, and I had a well-known writer lined up to write a book about the WRTC here in Boston. I want a book about it because I think this is really important." But the guy got pulled off. His name was Mark Obmasik, and he wrote the famous book about bird watching called The Big Year. It had, turned out to be a movie with Jack Black and Owen Wilson and Steve Martin, and wow, sold 100,000 copies. But right before he was supposed to go up and write the book and cover the event, his publisher pulled him off to write a book about the legalization of marijuana in Colorado because he lives in Denver. He's a journalist. Okay. So Doug said to me, "Wow, I'm up a creek. Can you do this?" And I said, "Wow, thanks for giving me like 6 weeks notice." And I can do it. I've been there. I've done that. Referee, competitor. I've written a book. I know I can do it, but I'm not going to do this on my own. I have to get a publisher. And he said, "Oh, wow, that's going to be hard." And I said, "Yeah, it's going to be hard." And I'll skip a lot of details, but I made a presentation to several publishers, and the first one I made it to thought it was a great idea. They happen to be here in Austin, Texas. It's called the Greenleaf Book Group. They thought it was quirky and unique and a little strange. And, oh, by the way, it's the very first book we've ever heard on this subject. It might go. And so they assigned me an editor, and off we went. And so that's how the thing. And I booked a ticket at the last minute. 2 weeks before the event, I got an airplane ticket up there and Doug Grant got me into the hotel, which was of course sold out. And he made it happen and gave me a all access pass to go anywhere, do anything, show up anywhere. And so I got there, and I bought this black 500-page blank notebook, and I took it with me going, okay, what do I do now? And I had this badge on right up here that said, Jim George, N3BB, book author. Well, okay, it says I'm a book author. Now, what do I do? And so I just start talking to people, and then I volunteered to be a volunteer driver, because roughly 2/3 of the teams didn't have a American driver's license or didn't know where they were going. Of course, I didn't know where I was going either. And I first tried to get the German women's team, because as an author, I knew I wanted to have them in the book because I wanted female readers, and they were an interesting team. I knew that. They already had a driver who was Tim Duffy, K3LR. And so I picked another German team because I do speak German. And I thought, well, I'll get a little German practice, you know. And the German team was DJ5MW and DL1IAO. And I knew Stefan, DL1IAO, just from radio contesting since he was a teenager. He's now an ophthalmologist in Germany. So, you know, I was their driver, and I got embedded and more or less spent the weekend at their site going back and forth and trying not to be lost a second time. So it really worked out well.
You know, it's interesting how you mentioned people like Tim Duffy and others. I would have never known they were part of this. It's kind of funny how all these paths cross each other, you know, in ham radio. Hey, I found a picture. Is this a picture you sent me? Is that you there?
It is.
All right. It's okay. So tell us about it. What do you got there?
Well, that's actually me. My wife took that. That's actually during a real contest, and I look sort of goofy. I'm not sure if that means, wow, I got the world by the tail, or maybe the world's got me by the tail. I've got two radios. There's a computer screen in the middle. There's a radio on the left, which is an FT1000MP, and an identical radio on the right. And I do what's called single operator two radios, or SO2R. And it means that you somehow are supposed to be listening to both radios, the left radio in the left ear and the right radio in the right ear, sort of, well, I'm doing this backwards the way you're seeing it. But basically, you get a chance, you get the thrill of listening to two audio streams at the same time. You can only send out one signal. The software makes sure that's only possible, but you can go back and forth and contact more people, and you get a chance to basically do more things. And that's me operating SO2R. I only operate Morse code anymore. I used to do them both, but I just don't like voice. And so all my stuff is Morse code.
Wow. You've got me thinking about this, two different signals coming in each ear, and talking to two different people. I've never seen that before. Have you, Katie?
Oh yeah, I have, and I'm not brave enough to try it. Although my husband's been playing around with the idea of doing it for, I think for a RIDI contest. It makes me think of in the book as I was reading, and you were stationed in a tent with the Germans in Miles Standish. Is it a national park or state park? I can't remember.
A state park.
State park.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things you'll read about in the book, for everybody who hasn't read it yet, I highly recommend you go and get it and read it, is Jim really outlines the whole process of what happens when everyone shows up. So you have people coming in from all over the world, and many of you may have kept up, say, on Facebook last year when all of this was happening. But one of the things that I really loved about it, Jim, was that you immediately immerse the reader in the activities of the WRTC as if you were there. And I felt like I was living it vicariously, and, you know, as an outsider, but I was actually there listening and watching what was happening. And the tales of your experience in the midst of all of this as a driver and a writer were both, funny and scary sometimes. And particularly when you got lost driving back one night after a hellacious long day and the guys had equipment troubles. And coming from Connecticut, I know full well about the roads up in that area in 495 and the Mass Pike and how you can get lost and turned around and how frustrating it can be. But one of the things in particular I found really interesting was that I knew a lot of the players in the WRTC that you've talked about in the book, but I didn't necessarily know about their personal backgrounds. We all know each other as our call signs, but it was really interesting to read a bit about some of their backgrounds, about what they did in their real life before they were doing WRTC. And then what happens once they get to the site and the equipment they have to bring. I didn't realize that everyone had to bring their own radios and the level of equipment. And can you tell me a little bit? You said there was a Japanese team that came, and it was quite a bit of work they had to do to get themselves there.
Well, that would be the case for every single team. The Japanese team wasn't one of the strongest teams in terms of their finish because they simply didn't have the experience, but they were full of enthusiasm. They brought, I can't remember how many, 700 pounds of stuff and all the way from Japan, and they were just the most wonderful young men, Kandu-san and Hizaki-san, and I've spent a lot of time in Japan at work, and when you're doing this writing stuff, you know from the start you got 59 teams, and so okay, you're going to maybe be able to discuss a half a dozen, possibly a dozen teams where you can bring them into the action. And, some are sort of by definition. You're going to talk about the winning team, the top one or two, and you're going to talk about a couple of the unique characters like George DeMontron and John Crivelli, which were a sponsored team. And DeMontron and Crivelli are sort of bigger than life characters. And then there was a fella and the former champions from Russia, and they live in St. Petersburg, and I had a chance to get some inside information about their sort of home station, which is this gigantic mega station on a Russian tank base 2 hours southwest of St. Petersburg, and what it's like. Somebody had a chance to go there and describe it to me, and then there was a fellow from Estonia who was complaining, and he just felt that his site wasn't really good, and it's like the old Dragnet, storyline, the city of Los Angeles, the city of 1,000 stories, everyone has a story. But it was the case. And then I got lucky again as a writer of all of the of all of these contests. This is the first one that the finish was highly, highly controversial. The number one team, which is an American team, splendid, outstanding guys. They kind of ran away with it, to be honest. They were clearly number one. Yeah. And then the number two team was a Slovakian team from Slovakia. They were clearly number two. Right. But then the number 3, 4, 5, and 6 were like this. They turned in their scores, and they were like, okay, well, here are the scores. But then the judges would run all these electronic databases through a giant checker, and if I said I contacted you, Katie, and you said, it would check to see, well, did you say you contacted me from Wyoming? Right. And if you didn't say yes, I got J.K. George, then I wouldn't get credit for it. So all of these things went through, and by the time these number 3, 4, 5, and 6 were sorted out, two of them sort of drifted off and were clearly number 5 and number 6. But number 3 and number 4 were so close, the judges couldn't separate them. Every time they would get 5 or 10 new electronic logbooks, they would go in and it would flip them. Number 3 would be 4, number 4 would be 3, and they finally just threw up their hands and said, they finally went to bed. This thing, by the way, starts on Boston time, New England time, 8 o'clock on Saturday morning and ends at 8 o'clock on Sunday morning. And when they went to bed about midnight on Sunday night, because the awards banquet was Monday night, they went to bed knowing who was number 1 and who was number 2, but they did not know who was number 3, and they did not who was number 4. And they got up the next morning, and Doug Grant, the CEO, said, well, who got the bronze medal? And they said, we don't know. And so it came down to, and as a writer, I just love this stuff. I mean, this is like writer nirvana. It came down to the fact that rightly or wrongly, properly or improperly, they zeroed in on one particular contact. The team that was in number 3 had made a contact with an elderly British gentleman. He was at a summer cabin, it wasn't fancy, a summer rental unit on a small Greek island way out in the Mediterranean called Lipsi, Lipsi, which is it's 10 miles from the Turkish mainland. In fact, you can see Turkey from this island, but it's a Greek island. There are lots of those over there. Right. But it doesn't count as Greek because it's Greece. It's so far away, it counts as a different country. It counts as the Deccanese Islands, of which Rhodes is the major, Rhodes. Mm. So they made a contact with this fellow. He probably got up, had a cup of coffee, made 3 or 4 contacts, and didn't think anything. It's possible this guy didn't even know there was a contest going on. He heard people on, got them on Morse code. They logged him, but he didn't log them. And due to a lot of confusion, back and forth, it came down to that contact. Was it made or was it not made? And at the end of the day, the judges decided they had to make a call, and they could not confirm it, and they decided they would not give the American team credit for it. Mm-hmm. And so not only did they lose one contact, they lost a contact in a different new country because of where it counts. It doesn't count for Greece. It counts for the Deccanese Islands. Right. And so they basically took it away. And it turns out later it was confirmed that the contact was valid. It was made, and it was a tough break. But you got to make the calls in the time you've got to call it. And there were some people upset by that. But and the book goes over that in a way that I think doesn't make anybody look bad. There were no villains in the story. There were people trying to do the right thing, and all of these operators are such spectacularly talented people. Oh my gosh, they're the best.
I agree. Yeah, when I was reading through that, I didn't quite remember that battle between 3rd and 4th and what was happening, because, of course, those of us that were watching on Facebook or on the WRTC website to get news didn't necessarily know all of this. So, I think I was sitting there kind of reading and, wondering what was going to happen. You're really kind of like, you're just sitting on pins and needles and, wondering what's going to happen. And, you had that a lot happen through the book. It was great.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but my sister who lives in Albuquerque, and she knows nothing about ham radio, and my family doctor, again, that knows nothing about ham radio, they both read the book, and they both told me the same thing. They said, listen, we're kind of mad at you because you made us stay up 3 hours after our bedtime, late at night. We stayed up to 1 a.m. We just had to see how this thing ended. And I, as a writer, I go, wow, it doesn't get any better than that. Well, and again, as a writer, a lucky break, the team that did not get credit for the contact, and they're an American team. One lives in New Mexico, one in Arkansas, N2IC and N5DX. And then the other team that did get the bronze medal, guess who they were? They were my German team.
Right.
I couldn't help, and I had to write it. I had to write it impartially, but I was there, and so the German team with which I was embedded, they got the controversial bronze medal, and so it was quite thrilling.
So I've got a question in the chat room here. Let me throw it at you guys. I said, Cast has 2 questions. How many words per minute do you have to copy to be successful? And when you do SO2R, do you use the same antenna?
The first question first. You can, to be successful in high-level radio sporting, you got to be really solid at ideally 35 or 40 words a minute. You can do okay. You can do okay with a code reader and not even, you can make contacts with a code reader and not even know the code, and you can do okay at 20 words a minute. People will slow down for you. But in terms of the world-class operators, they're rock solid at 35 to 40. And in fact, Katie, you guessed, I think you may bring it up later, a passage in the book. But the German people, and I had a chance to listen to them operate a couple of times, when their referee, the Polish SP4 Zulu, took a break. But they were rock solid at 40 words a minute, and that's really fast. And on the second question, you have to have separate antennas. In other words, if I'm listening on let's say I'm listening on 20 meters and I'm calling CQ and running stations on say 40 meters or say 15 meters, you're generally quote unquote running a station. You're running a string of stations by calling CQ on one band, and you're tuning the other radio, looking for somebody to call. You're looking for somebody to find, maybe in a new country, or just somebody to contact them, but in a break of your more rapid contacts coming. And so it's generally two different frequencies on two different bands.
One thing I found interesting that you talked about in the book was how the referee actually, and this was where they had some technical difficulties as well, is the referee was listening to both operators. So he had one operator in one ear and one operator in the other. And if they were both running CW, or maybe one was voice and one was CW, I can't even begin to imagine how they actually sorted that out. And you had a chance to listen to that as well. But I mean, they have to sit, the referee has to sit there and continue to listen. They can't just get up and walk away whenever they feel like it. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're supposed to listen to the entire 24 hours. And, realistically, there are times you have to go out and use the porta potty, or
right.
You just have to clear your head. But the role of the referee, fundamentally, people take an oath of integrity. I will not cheat. And one of the things you have to do is you're supposed to not let people know who you are, because all of the stations have unique call letters they're given in the country. And the call letters in New England, for example, would be K1R or N1T or N1A. And they are supposed to not be known, so that way, people from a certain country can't just cheerlead and follow their team, so to speak. But in Wes's case, basically, you make sure, everything has to be in English. You can't give away who you are, and you can't run more than 100 watts, and you have to follow the rules. But, in reality, it's you just have to sit there and listen. And it's tough to be a referee. It's tough.
I bet. One thing that I thought, there was a passage in the book that I really fell in love with, and it was when Wes, who was the referee in your tent, decided to take a break, and he asked you to take over the headphones. And this is, I hope you don't mind, Tom, but I asked Jim if he would read this passage. It's for me, I'll just give a quick little hint to the crowd before you start reading it. I guess maybe the reason I fell in love with it is because I'm in the process right now of learning CW. And so when I read this particular passage in chapter 15, I believe it is, it took my breath away. So I'm going to just let you read it and take it away.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. This is in the hardcover. It's on page 173 and goes a little into 174. I'm going to also read the preceding paragraph because it's short. This is a chapter that's called Dusk, D-U-S-K, Dusk, at twilight. Twilight lingered at WRTCC site 15W. Visitors had come and gone. Now, with darkness inching through the forest, tree by tree, calls from birds and squirrels transitioned to sounds of owls and hawks looking for their prey. The radio conditions at the campsite changed to track the ionosphere and its different layers of absorptive molecules, and free-floating electrons. By sundown, Manfred Wolf and Stefan von Baltz had completed 2 of their very best hours, a total of 518 contacts altogether between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. During that time, 14 megahertz, which is a key daylight band, was still fueled with sufficient solar energy. The signal path between New England and Europe, with very long-lasting daylight that far north, remained fully open. Then I'm going to skip just a little bit. Both Manfred and Stefan were extremely busy, but from time to time they managed to pick at the food that I had brought into the tent. Wes, this is Wes, the referee, Wes Kaczynski. Wes signaled for me to take his place for a few minutes while he ducked out to get some fresh air and eat a bite. Listening to Manfred's radio on the 7 megahertz band was an audible form of peering into a brilliantly clear ocean of beautiful Morse code. Senses of colors and sounds began to mix. I could hear signals from other stations, yet the filters in the receiver were cleaving a wondrous, narrow opening. Callers from Europe, as well as from the eastern and midwestern United States, appeared with astonishing clarity. Every signal was just a little different. Some were faster, others slower, some with higher timbre, others with lower. In my mind, a symphony of colors appeared in addition to the sounds. Higher frequencies had a cooler blue image, while the stations with a basso sound triggered orange or even red. The hues flashed and danced to the beat of Morse code. This was radio sporting at its most exhilarating, and I couldn't help but want to sit in that chair and run those Europeans with the magical band conditions. Thank you.
That's terrific. It like I said, I read that and it transported me to sitting in that tent with you, listening to those stations and hearing the sounds of nature around. And I thought it was just a beautiful piece of the book. And I just thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, and Jim, it's been really exciting tonight to hear these stories and parts of your book there. Katie has told me even before the show how she was impressed with this book, and I think a lot of hams might now want to go out and pick this book up. Tell us again where they can get the book, and maybe you can sell a few books tonight.
Well, it's available in two forms, a hardcover and ebook, any ebook format, Nook, Kindle, Apple Store, Google download. I have it on my Android phone. The hardcovers are available anywhere. Any bookstore can get it. If they don't stock it, they can order it. Barnes & Noble has it in a number of their stores. Of course, Amazon has it. Barnes & Noble online have it. It's available in Europe, and it's available in all the British Commonwealth countries, and including South Africa. And I hope and I plan to make it available on audible.com as an audiobook in about 4 or 5 months. My son here in Austin has a recording studio. He will record it, master it, mix it, and do all the magic things that he does so well. And I plan to try to read it, hopefully better than I read that little section for you, Katie. But so hopefully we'll have it as an audible audiobook as well.
Oh, that'll be great. And a shameless plug, it's also available at Ham Radio Outlet.
Yes. At Ham Radio Outlet has it at all of their stores, which I appreciate. DX Engineering has it in Ohio, and the League, ARRL, has it available there from stock as well. And I thank all of them.
Well, I'll tell you, after reading it, like I said, I couldn't put it down. I downloaded it onto my Kindle and read all weekend long. And like you, I'm also a voracious reader. And when I get a book that I can't put down, this was one of them. And I don't get a lot of those. A lot of books, I'll tend to read 6 books at a time because I might lose my interest along the way. But for anybody who's interested in a ham radio story, you truly do get immersed in the whole activities of the WRTC and feel like you were there. Even if you're not a contester, you don't need to be one to feel engaged and appreciated and want to be part of it and be part of the story. And it's a fantastic book. I really, really loved it. And I hope you guys will support Jim and pick it up and give it a good read.
Well, I'm already seeing people in the chat room saying they're going to get your book. So
one last shameless plug. Also, I have gone through the process of social media and a website, and you can check out more than you'll ever want to know about me is available at my website. It's a professional website. It's www.author, as in book author, J.K. George. That's J.K. George.com, and I hope Tom and Katie, Tom especially, thank you so much for having me on your W5KUB webcast, and it's thrilling to know I'm going out on WBCQ, and Katie, thank you for reading the book and your wonderful comments, and thanks for everybody to tuning in.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you so much, Jim, for joining us tonight. And we're got a little bit more of the show. We've got a few other things that we're going to have on the show tonight. You're welcome to go to W5KUB.com and watch the rest of the show, or just note that the show is recorded and it will be available on our archives site tonight. So this show will be out there, and there'll be a lot of people probably watch it tomorrow that have other things to do on Tuesday nights. So 73, Jim, thank you again for being on here.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
73, Katie also. Bye-bye.
All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
All right. So let's see what we got going here. Okay. Well, I think that was really good, Katie. Let's see if I can do a split screen. Yeah. Oh, that was interesting, and you kind of had the advantage here. You read the book, and it sounds like you had a good time reading it.
I really did. Like I said, I read a lot, and this was one of those books that I really couldn't put down, and I downloaded it on my Kindle. And of course, nowadays your telephones also have, I have my book on my phone too. So when I didn't have my tablet, I was on my phone reading and getting through it. And even though I knew a lot of the story behind what happened at WRTC, and I knew a lot of the participants, it was still, it was almost like I didn't know anything, and I had to keep reading to find out what happened next. And he has a lot of stories about what happened to some of the participants in their tents when equipment failed. One of the teams, I think it might have been the Lithuanian team, their computer came and they got the blue screen of death. And then they got a replacement. They lucked out and got a replacement from the hotel, and that one kind of bombed out on them as well. And then after a few phone calls around, someone found a computer and loaned it out to them. And there was situations like that cropped up where people had problems in the tents, and everyone helped each other. So whether or not they were competing against each other, they showed up in the hotel at night and someone needed to solder something together, and someone loaned them off their soldering iron, and off they went. And it was, really the true camaraderie of ham radio. And of course, the people that were involved in the WRTC, especially Doug Grant, who was the CEO of it in 2014, and his whole committee did an amazing job, as well as all of the people that had to identify the 59 locations, all of the volunteers that helped support all the competitors. It was really, it was just an amazing thing to be witness to. I wish we could have gone out to it. It was just right at the weekend prior to the ARRL Centennial, and we just couldn't manage to get 2 weeks off to be out on the East Coast. But maybe we can try to swing going to Germany in 2018. Might start saving my quarters now and see if we can put something together. I think it would be fun to be part of.
All right. Well, maybe we'll send you out there, and you can report back on how it is.
We better start fundraising now, Tom.
Yeah, we better. So, hey, don't go away if you can stick around, Katie. No telling what's going to happen here on the show in the next few minutes. Let me just mention again to people out there that might be listening on shortwave station WBCQ 5130 kilohertz. You can watch the show on the internet if you've got a computer and internet access at W5KUB.com. Send us an email. I'd like to hear from our shortwave listeners, and we'd like to try to bring in more shortwave interesting programs for our shortwave listeners. Send me an email, tom@W5KUB.com, tom@W5KUB.com, and let us give us a signal report and where you are. Join our Facebook group at the top in the menu. There's a button that says Facebook or Twitter. Katie, that was a great interview, and I really appreciate you helping there. People on here know that I've had this crud stuff for probably a month, and I can't get over it. We have our official W5KUB doctor on here, Papa Doc. He's in here, WA4YY. Oh, man, I don't remember his call now. But anyway, he's in here. But at the end of the show, we always ask Papa Doc all of our medical questions. So if anybody has any medical questions, just keep watching, and you'll probably hear answers to it for all us old timers talking to Doc tonight on the last part of the show. One of the things that Doc sent me, he sent me some pills to take, but I haven't
Nice.
figured out. I haven't figured out yet how. I have not figured out yet how to get these pills down. So maybe I'll talk a little bit more about these in a few minutes. People probably know what it is, but I'm not going to talk much about it right now. But this could be an interesting little segment. Oh, I've got a paint run right there. Not supposed to show you that. Anyway, so we'll probably talk a little about that. We've had several of our viewers send in pictures when they were in the military. Let me run through those real quick. Show you who sent some pictures in here. If I can find them here. Yeah, I've got them. So let's look at people that sent in. And hey, guys, I've been asking for you to send pictures of your ham shack and things like that into the show. We'll be glad to try to run it. So let's see who our veterans are out there since we just had July 4th. Here's a Norm, KJ9, KJN. Looks like United States Navy, maybe 72 to 76. And here's Don Martin, W8DM, United States Air Force, 68 to 92. Boy, doesn't it look like he's having a good time there? Look at that smile on his face there, sitting there. I'm not sure. I guess he's in an airplane here. I don't know. But Don looks like he's having a good time there. Here's a picture that was sent in by Stuart Reynolds. This is his father. His father was KE7YVA. He was in the 101st and the 82nd Airborne. Now this guy here, he always interests me. This is our friend Michael, W1DGL here. Yeah. This guy's been in every branch of the service there is, I think. And pardon us for the little smudge on the picture. The picture is clean, but when I load it in this program, it puts a little smudge on here. But anyway, Michael there he is in the United States Air Force, 73, 74. He was in the Army, 75 to 78. He hit the Navy in 78 to 80. I don't know if he was running from somebody or what's going on there, but we really appreciate his service to this country. And it's kind of unusual, I think, for a person to be in three different branches of the military like that. Let's see. Here's Bob Harrell over in Arkansas. He's on the show a lot with us. AJ5C, United States Air Force, 1961 and 1982. And I'm looking at that, and I'm thinking, okay, this picture had to be taken in the winter because that looks like the wool dress uniform there for the Air Force. And that wool was warm, but it was also itchy. Let's see. What do we got here? Oh, look at there. There I am. Look at that. 1969 and 1972. And I don't know why, but I was a lot skinnier then. And I had a lot of dark hair there. And that picture was made overseas there. And you notice that, we had a houseboy there that did all our laundry and everything, and they tapered your uniforms and put starch in it. And it's amazing that you could even move. That thing had so much starch in it. So anyway, that was me in 70, about 1970, I guess. And then here's a picture of James Reed, KB9 WNY. Looks like he is in the Marines there. So that's the ones that sent us in pictures for the July the 4th webcast, and we appreciate their service, and thanks everybody for sending those pictures in. I've got a short video that we'll run now, and it's pretty good quality video. It was actually shot at the local field day, whenever it was. Katie, you and I couldn't remember when field day was. I think it was last weekend or the weekend before. I don't know. When was field day, Kathy? Wasn't this weekend?
2 weeks ago. Well, not this most recent weekend,
right.
So last weekend.
Wow, couldn't even remember that. Okay, so this was shot at Germantown, Tennessee. That's near Memphis. I live in Collierville. That's near Memphis. So these are little city communities around Memphis. So I'm going to play this video real quick. It's about 10 minutes long, and then we might get into what these things are if we have time. That's pretty big. Okay, so let me run this video here real quick. Okay, all I gotta do is find it. There it is. And Katie, you're not going to hear the audio, but it's going.
Okay.
Basically, that room back there, we set up a table, and all the powers and things like the mayor and so forth, all the decision makers, and set back there. This is kind of like just a general area. This is the radio room. And my communications, it's got the Shelby County frequency. Also got any radios, and D-Star 240. Of course, we got the Wi-Fi in here. We got telephones in here. So I mean, it's a full functional command center in case they have to come in here.
So this is the Germantown Fire Department's communication command vehicle. So start with the front here. This is where all the power and all the electronics start up here. It does have a 6,000 watt generator. We can run for about 48 hours on that generator without refueling. We have jack stabilizers, so the truck's jacked out for real stable environment. XM satellite radio and AM/FM radio. We do have a 800 megahertz radio up here as well. GPS, a satellite phone, satellite radio, and we have a dual band ham radio and telephone handset up here in the front, so somebody can use this. This is one station here. There's 3 stations back here. They can be used for dispatchers or command personnel. There's laptops for every station. All of them are connected to internet. We've got satellite internet and we have LTE internet through Verizon. There is 3 UHF, 3 800, and 3 VHF radios that are in here, as well as ham radio. They're all interconnected into the AC 1000 here, so we can do interop, so we can connect any of those radios to any other radios and build a talk group. All the radios are digitally recorded, so everything we do we have a recording of. Like I said, ham radio, antenna controller, weather system. There is an AV system, so we can pipe video either in or out or here through the camera. You come over here, there's a camera in here that is on the mast. It's pan, tilt, zoom, so we can put that anywhere we want to put that. Satellite TV, digital video recorders, everything that we do video can be recorded in here. So we have that's just miscellaneous equipment, handheld satellite phones in here that we use, and just other kind of miscellaneous GPSs and other miscellaneous equipment, things up stored in here. You step back in the service area here. All of our storage and tools is in here, so just a lot of parts and pieces, extra tools, extra computers, extra piece of radio equipment, programming cables, all that good stuff. Electronics bay here, so this is all of the satellite equipment, all of the radio patches here. These are cell to POTS line. There's a phone system in the back there that they all go into, as well as our Verizon service through that router. So we have both LTE service and satellite service.
FedEx had a communications truck?
Sir?
I didn't know FedEx had a communications truck.
We have 2 of them.
Oh.
Alright, where'd you log in? That was pickup truck on over.
Okay, maybe, yeah, my signal's coming up now. The frequency is a little off.
Florida. No.
CQ field day, CQ field day, W4 Echo Mike, W4 Echo Mike.
Whiskey 4 Delta Tango Papa, is that QSL? Okay, you're on Echo Mike 55, QSL? QSL 2 Delta Tennessee, 734, excuse me, 5 Able Tennessee. Whiskey 6 Yankee X-Ray, this is Whiskey 4 Echo Mike, 5 Able Tennessee, 5 Alpha Tennessee. Say again?
Whiskey 4 Echo Mike, Whiskey 4 Easy Money. Whiskey 6 Yankee X-Ray. QSL, the 7 Fox and 7 Sierra Charlie Victor. I'm tongue tied here. QSL, we got you. 7-3, good dice. Yeah, we're a 5 Able Tennessee, 5 Alpha Tennessee, George, W4 Echo Mike. 7-3, George, Delta, Louisiana. Go in, A5 Papa Kilo, Whiskey 4 Echo Mike, 5 Alpha Tennessee. Will and Delta, West Texas, QSL. 7-3.
Can you turn the speaker up a little bit? Feedback
This is Whiskey 4 Echo Mike, copy 5 Alpha Tennessee, 5 Alpha Tennessee. QSL?
QSL, I'm surprised to hear you guys. I'm over here by the airport. This is Jerry, Whiskey 4 Tango, India Lima, just checking in.
Roger, well, thank you much. Good luck.
This is Whiskey 4.
Well, that's pretty good. That's northeast and north to southwest. We're doing pretty good.
Yeah, please copy 5 Alpha, Tennessee, Tango November.
5 Alpha, Tango November, QSL.
Yeah, and your exchange?
2 Alpha, November, Tango.
2 Alpha? 2 Alpha. All right, I copy 2 Alpha, your section.
Echo Mike.
Yep, police copy 4 Alpha Tennessee, 4 Alpha Tango November.
I copy 4 Alpha Tennessee. 4 Alpha Lima.
Roger, I copy 4 Alpha Alabama, 4 Alpha Alabama, and correction, it's 5 Alpha Tennessee, 5 Alpha Tennessee. QSL?
I copy 5 Alpha. Thank you very much. Good luck,
Big Cancer Center, yeah.
They get our stuff all the time. We get their stuff.
Echo Mike Oscar, Missouri. Good luck.
Thank you.
I've seen it.
Bill started this and put this together, and this one's turned out better than old modem, and we use that to go back to what's called a nest in Reston, Virginia, and then we can talk to any USAR team in the country, whether they're on our frequency or not. It's the same interlinking device as the ACU, and then we link that up with the began over there, or the satellite. 40 out.
Okay, I think we're back there. I was looking for the credits on there. I got permission to run it, but I see his calls down there. Dave, down just south of Memphis here in Mississippi. Hey, Katie, can you look up Dave's call for me? You got QRZ handy there?
Yeah.
I think his call is N5COO, if I'm not mistaken. Probably somebody in the chat room here locally can tell me too, but that video was provided by Dave.
Well, I would, but for some reason my computer's being cranky.
Well, if that's not right, I'll... Yeah.
Anybody faster in the chat room?
If that's not correct, we'll just correct it next week. But I think it's N5COO, and that was Dave down in Mississippi. All right, well, okay, so tonight we've talked about contact sport, and we talked a little about field day, and we visited with Katie there on field day and saw their operations. It was hot in a lot of places, and boy, I tell you, I saw there in the Memphis, they had a hamburger. It looked like a yucky hamburger. He ate about half of it. The first field day location we put on was from Traverse City, and they were cooking filet mignon and lobster for everybody up there. So they really they were doing it right up there.
My goodness.
All right, so field day, I'm sure that people put up antennas, and everybody's got different ways to put up your antenna. When I lived over 18, 20 years ago, I had this big tree back there, and my rope broke, and I was trying to get a line over the tree. It was probably 100 feet, and a friend of mine brought a crossbow over. And crossbow's got a lot of power, and we put that on a fishing reel and shot that thing. And we never did see where the arrow went. It went about 3 miles, and I think we only had probably a couple hundred yards of line on the fishing reel. So hopefully we didn't kill a cow somewhere out there. So I do not recommend a crossbow. Now, if you got just a regular bow, that might be a little different. It's not quite as powerful. But anyway, my son-in-law was out there in the backyard, and he said, "What are you guys doing?" And I said, "Well, we're trying to get this rope over this tree limb." And he says, why don't you just throw it up there? And I'm thinking, okay, my arm's about thrown out at this age. I can't throw straight up very high. He said, why don't you just throw it up there? So we took a baseball and we tied the thing on there, and he threw it like over 100-foot tree, you know. So, and he was a Memphis policeman. I guess when you're young like that, you know, in good shape, you can throw a ball over a 100-foot tree like that. So over the years, I've tried different things, and of course, you can buy these things, and you can buy them, and you don't have to spend that much money. For instance, you probably, and I'm gonna go back to just single picture here. Let's see. Yep. You probably have seen the slingshot. This has got surgical tubing on it, and it's got a. We put a reel on it, surgical tubing, and put a nut or something like that in there. And let me tell you, this is very accurate. I've used this for a number of years, and I can easily hit an area, maybe a couple foot in diameter, 100, 120 feet up in the air. So, you can buy these for about $70, $80, various places on the internet. But hey, you can buy you a $5 reel at Walmart, and you can buy you a $5 slingshot at Walmart, and you can make your own. So it works pretty good. Now, people probably know what a potato gun is. That's the thing that actually blows your fingers off.
Right.
We sold some up one year. We sold some up at Dayton, actually. A friend of mine built them and took them to Dayton. But that's a potato gun is a PVC type device where you squirt some hair spray in there or WD-40, and you spark it, and it explodes, and it shoots a potato out. So a lot of people are starting to use that now for antenna launchers. The hairspray deal is kind of messy. It's not really good, and these things here are actually the projectiles that I'm going to show you what I've got here that I shoot. And I tried this week, and I shot this thing probably 200 feet in the air over probably a 100-foot tree. But this is pretty simple. It's just a three-quarter inch PVC pipe with caps on the ends and a little eyelet there. And you probably need to make you a couple in case you lose it. Now, the thing about it is, this thing is I put a little fluorescent paint on these things. You can see these things wherever they are. I mean, when I do shoot something like with the slingshot, and I shoot a weight or a nut, and it goes over, you can't see it. It's very hard to find. You have to pull the line back and look for the weight and all that. So anyway, I thought I'll take a chance with one of these and see how this works. So there's nothing secret about the design of this. Nothing secret at all about how to put it together. Let's see. I just kind of copied one that someone had built. Let me change microphones.
You look like the Terminator there.
Yeah. Okay. I'm on my wireless. I'm on my lapel mic now. Okay. So guys, if you look at this, and I copied one that he had built, and basically you put a cutoff here. And I was always worried about this cutoff. This is like a water cutoff or something. And, I was always thinking that you can't turn that fast enough to get a good shot of air through there. But I'll tell you a little about that in a minute. So anyway, it's an 1.25 inch pipe here. And the 1.25 inch pipe is exactly the right size for these 3/4 inch end caps to go in. It just fits perfectly in there. And this thing is very accurate. So anyway, so there hey, nothing fancy or nothing exact. Pipe, some reducers, make it fit you a valve, and then they actually used 1.25 inch pipe like this for the air chamber. And I said, well, I'm going to go with a little bit bigger air chamber. I figured it would hold a little bit more air or maybe improve it some. So I put 2-inch pipe on here, and at the end here we just put a tire valve stem in it. You can get these at any auto parts place here for a couple bucks. So you put that in there, and I tell you, I tested this. Oh, and we just clamped a reel on here. And I tested this the other day. I just put like 20 pounds of pressure in. Now the pipe here, this 2-inch pipe says 280 pounds pressure. I would not recommend putting 100 or 200 pounds in this thing. If you do, you're gonna put this thing in orbit. I guarantee that. So I put 20 pounds of pressure in here, 20 pounds of pressure, and then I just turned the valve. Like, oh, it had air in it. I don't know if you heard that or not.
Oh,
but you just turn the valve, and I thought, okay, so this valve is a little slow to turn, and it opens up a 3/4 inch hole, and I'm thinking, okay, is that going to actually lock this thing, or do I need a quick release, air release or something? But it's amazing how this little twist handle actually shoots the projectile here. It's amazing. So that's something that we're going to try maybe next field day, or I've got a lot of trees in my yard, and we'll be probably shooting over a couple more trees here with this. So I just wanted to show you that toward the end of the show here, and let you see what's going on. It's 9:30. I think WBCQ is going to be turning off the audio to the show. Thank you, Robert, at WBCQ up in Monticello, Maine, if you're still listening, and thank you for putting us on the show. And we're going to get into the hangout in just a moment. But I want to do this. I'm just going to throw the phone line on here for a second. If anybody wants to call in tonight, I don't know if they want to call in or not, but let me see if I can move the phone number where you can see it. That'll probably work right there. Okay. So, hey, give us a call if you'd like to get on the show real quick. Comment about the show tonight. 901-286-1116. 901-286-1116. Love to hear from you. We'll be going into our hangout in just a minute, where if you've got a camera and a microphone, you can join us on Hangout. We can take up to 10 people at a time. And we just kind of sit around the coffee table and we talk about everything. Hopefully Doc will be there tonight. Gotta see if Doc's got any more ideas here to get my cough going. And boy, I'm running up a big bill with Doc. I'm on this. I don't know. Well, I've got an account with Doc over there. He just puts my charge down here. Let's see. I'm a plumber. I have to look at the rating on that pipe. 280 sounds pretty high. Yeah, Doug. It's just what's on the pipe here. It says 280 pounds pressure. That's for the 2-inch. This is schedule 40. 280 pounds per square inch at 73 degrees Fahrenheit. So hey, if it's hotter, I would imagine you. But that's why I went with the 2-inch. Again, 20 pounds put it over a 100-foot tree easily. So I felt like that's fairly safe. 20 pounds, 30 pounds. The 1.25-inch pipe. The 1.25-inch pipe actually has a higher pressure rating. It's 370 pounds per square inch. But I thought I'd get a little bit more volume in the big air chamber here. Again, you could build this straight. It doesn't have to curve like this. You can just come straight back. Here's your valve, and then take your air chamber just straight back behind it here, and So anyway, it's just something to play with and do. I'm gonna try it now instead of the slingshot and see how that works. Okay, let's see. Let's see. So, yeah, I recommend not putting over about 40 or 50 pounds in max, and I think if you put 50 pounds in it, it's going to go a long ways. Probably longer than what you'll have fishing line on your reel. Okay, so let me, Kathy, have you put the link out for Hangout? All right, we're going to go over to Hangout and see who wants to join us. And so, Katie, we'll drop you off here. We use the same computer for our Hangout here. Right. If you want to check in Hangout, Katie, join us. If not, thank you very much for being with us again tonight, and we'll see you next week or the next or whenever you have time to be with us.
All right, sounds
So-
great. Thanks, Tom. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, so let me get your picture back up there so you can say good night, and you can wave at people. You know, I mean,
Okay.
it's just one. You know, you can do one of these. You can do one of these. All
Hi,
right.
everybody.
All right. Thanks a lot, and join us on Hangout if you want to. If not, we'll maybe see you next week. Bye.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.
All right. So let me see if I can get on here now. We're going to be upgrading our software for the show. The software we use to run the show is called Wirecast, and with everything going up now to Windows 10 and so forth, and there's been so many improvements in the software. I'm very happy with the way it works, but it's just not going to be supportable. So we're fixing to, and for all you guys listening down here in the South, we fix everything. So we're fixing to order a copy of Wirecast 7, and it doesn't come cheap. It's about $495 for the software package, but it allows us to do all the TV switching and the things that you see here. Hangout, there we go. Got a few people in Hangout, it looks like. Let's see what we got here. Oh boy. I don't know what that was.
Oh, wow.
Somebody.
Can you guys hear me okay? Hey, Tom.
Yeah. Jeffrey, I think it's coming back from Jeffrey. I think. Well, let's see.
I'm not sure if I'm being heard or not.
I hear you.
Okay.
I hear you, Eric. Hey, Jeff, N3VE, it sounds like it's coming back from you. There we go. There we go. You fixed it. I think you fixed it, yeah.
Well, he's muted it, I think.
Yeah. You know, I mean, after all, if we have any problems, just go to Jeff, right? Yeah. He's probably got 3 microphones plugged in there. So let's see here if I can find where's Jeff. Let's see. There we go. All right. You know what? When Jeff talks, it's coming through like Donald Duck. It comes through like Donald Duck. Man, I'm hearing myself too. Hey, Jeff, why don't you call back in?
Yeah.
And let me fix this picture here while I'm at it. Let's see, edit shot. Oop, let's see, that. And that'll probably work right there. I see Bill in there.
Hello.
The other Bill. Your Bill number. I guess you're Bill number 1. Since you were first on here, Bill number 2 up in Northeast.
All right, I'm back.
All right.
Hey, that's much better.
Yeah, I didn't do nothing. I was the first one in here. Maybe that.
Yeah, I don't know. It just sometimes, you know, the IP stuff screws up, and it just, you know.
Yeah, I had nothing else running.
Yeah, yeah. I got a question from Doug. Did I weight the PVC bullets? No, I did not weight them, actually. I thought about maybe having to put something in the end of one, you know, like, you know, some adhesive or some clay or something to try to weight it in one end. But, man, it shot and it went straight. So probably the line behind the thing probably helps keep it going straight.
I'm not going to stay in here too long. I got to get up early, but thought I'd just hang out long enough to say hello.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you staying in here with
Not a
us.
problem. I was going to call in because I know no one else does, but I figured.
Yeah. Well, we blocked your number. I mean, I guess I need to unblock it, don't I? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know you're hungry, but not a problem.
I was gonna call in, but my cell phone was dead.
All right. Well, it's some people. I think you need some more people to like call in. I mean, I don't get it. It's a big deal.
I don't know.
Katie's got a fan club. I'm surprised that nobody called in to say hi to Katie.
Yeah, the Katie fan club.
Yeah, I mean, I look on Facebook, you know, when I post this on different groups, she's got this big fan club everywhere, all the comments, but I don't know if they showed up tonight or not.
I've never checked that out.
You know,
I know,
yeah.
I know, Tom, I know a bunch of, you know, since Katie's been a little on the show a little more, I know a bunch of people that I've talked to from some of the other communities. They're excited. I really kind of found out about this through Katie, and it's through Katie and Steve WB7YL, and I love it. I'm currently, if you can see me, off the air. I'm not at the home QTH, so I'm hoping to be able to finagle something out the apartment window here. Being stuck on the first floor is no good, but I get my ham radio updates because Katie messaged me. We talk daily to get updates, and she reminds me that I'm on the show. You need to watch.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Great. Well, I hope that well, my audio is still real hot. Test 1, 2, 3. There we go.
Which microphone are you on?
Hey, Eric, did you ever
I'm
try
on,
one of those remote stations?
Yeah, I'm on the lapel mic right now.
Yeah, the lapel mic sounds good. I've thought about the remote stations, but I don't have the extra cash to dole out for it. Eventually, I'll have something here, and I'll be back running my 40-meter nets.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Good. Well, we've got Kurt WA2JSG lighting his pipe up. Where's Doc? Doc's not on here tonight.
Not here.
Come on.
The guys at the field day loved me because I had a nice Cuban cigar and it helped keep the mosquitoes away.
Oh yeah, I would imagine so. I just tried it.
That was good. That helped. That helped tremendously.
Hey, next week I think we've got an interesting show. It's going to be on the. It's going to be on. Let's see if I can read it over here. I want to say this right. It's going to be on the National Tribal Amateur Radio Association. Talked to this guy, and he goes out on all these tribal reservations, and they're starting the ham radio clubs out there, and some of these reservations out west, they don't even have cell phones. They have nothing there, no communications at all. So I think ham radio will be a good thing for them. Some of them, you know, don't even have power. They live off the grid. Some have generators, some have solar. But
yeah, I have a friend that does some work for, and I can't tell you the name of the reservation, but it's somewhere down in some big canyon. He does IT work for them. They built a little bit of a network down there just so they could get out. So, but no other communication. So ham radio would be a great thing for these guys. But you know, they don't have a lot of money either. I mean,
well, I think it'll be interesting. You know, I didn't really think much about this, but I can understand this. But you know, these reservations have their own laws. I'm not saying it's like Sharia law or anything like that, but they obviously have a subsection of their own laws. I guess they have to fit somewhat within the U.S. laws, but and then of course there are federal laws that they have to also abide by. But you know, there's 22 native tribes in Arizona alone. 30% of all Arizona is tribal.
That's where my buddy works out of.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can get some information about that for you.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to be talking about next week. We'll see if we have some pictures and things, and talk about it, and see if we can all learn something about the ham radio there. They're trying to start up. with the Indian tribes. Thanks, Robert. WBCQ, thank you very much for your help tonight in putting us on international radio station WBCQ 5130 kilohertz up in Monticello, Maine. Thank you, Robert. Thanks for sticking in there with us. Robert's not a ham, but we're going to convince Robert to get his license. So maybe we can talk him into getting his license here one day.
That sounds good. All right, I'm gonna take off. 7-3, guys.
All right, 7-3. See you later.
7-3, Jeff.
All right, talk to you guys next week.
7-3, Jeff.
Good night.
All right, so.
Oh, hey, here's something for you guys. I'm one of the primary sorters for the W2QSL Bureau, and our bureau manager just sent us an email. We got about 200 pounds of the W1AW and the W100 QSL cards. So I know I worked a ton of both, and so if you guys and girls have been waiting for those cards, looks like the league's finally able to get them out. So that's going to be cool. Where we'll start receiving our W1AW portable and W100. What was it? W100 AW.
Yeah.
But so those cards will start getting circulated out soon. That's pretty cool. I think it's because I saw a picture of like 0 to 9, and there were a ton of boxes. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I imagine there was.
Yeah.
Well, I had fun operating the contest.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah. Did anybody work the contest this past weekend? The 13 colonies.
I was supposed to be in New Jersey. Yeah, the special event. I was supposed to be in for the New Jersey, but I was unable to this year, unfortunately.
Yeah. Hey, Bill. What did you say?
I think they did at the radio club.
Oh, okay.
I think they did at the radio club. I know that they there was a couple people there. And I know that there was another one at another club that I saw on Facebook. I'm looking up something. I saw something. I was going to call in, and I lost it because I went to get for Tom's phone, and it was something about the youth. What was it? Newsline was looking for amateur youth of the year or something like that, and they were saying that it was today was the last day for applications or something like that.
Oh, you're talking about the Young Ham of the Year? There was a posting about the nominations for the Young Ham of the Year. The Young Ham of the Year, that's given out down in Huntsville each year at the Huntsville Ham Fest, but June 20th was the cutoff for that.
Okay. Well, then maybe I misread it because it came to me today. So.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, look, hey.
Because I switched phones.
What was that?
I said I switched phones. I bought a new phone,
okay,
I'm
cool.
playing around here.
Cool. Well, I'm thinking about a peanut butter sandwich. Man.
Sounds
peanut butter and bananas?
Uh-oh.
No bananas. That was Elvis.
Uh-oh.
Thank you very much. Oh.
Yeah, you get some
peanut butter and mayonnaise. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. That probably tastes worse than the Geritol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, that's good stuff, man.
You know, when I was growing up, I ate peanut butter and peanut butter and crackers, and I can remember as a little kid when we'd run out of peanut butter, I'd eat mayonnaise and crackers. That sounds pretty gross right now.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, when you're a kid, you don't really think about it.
Yeah, I guess not. Yeah.
Did you I would rather eat that pill that you showed instead of the
yeah, the pill here. Yeah.
That thing. Yeah. Oh, that's a rough mayonnaise on anything. I'm sorry, but I'm not a mayonnaise guy.
Yeah, question in the chat room. Are we going to have pictures of the tribes in Arizona? We're going to try to. I've asked for pictures I want our guy to find us as many neat pictures, even if it doesn't show radio operation. I'd like to just see what the reservations look like now, and then you can kind of surmise by looking at that what these guys are going to face to put ham radio stations on. Ham radio may be their only means of communications out of there, and you know, they may have power, they may not have power. I don't know, but that's the neat thing about it.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Sounds good.
There was I think there was a Facebook group for it. I've seen on some of the ham Facebook groups I'm on discussion of the tribal councils. I think that's really cool. I mean, it's nice to see some more, and it's really weird when you sit there and you say they work off the grid or no power and no communications. That's just, I don't know. I can't live without my phone.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here, if you take a screenshot, there you go. You can see my shack.
All right. Yeah, I'll see it over there.
That's my current shack.
Oh, it's better than nothing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. I mean, I got a DMR repeater not too far from me that works. The local VHF repeater, and you know, if I want to listen to HF, you got the web SDRs, and you know, you got the scanner, so I can hear all the idiots, you know, complaining about fireworks at 9 o'clock at night from the town that's doing the fireworks display.
Yeah. I didn't go out to any of the fireworks this 4th. We just stayed home. Fireworks don't interest me as much as I guess they used to.
Just burning money.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
Alrighty. Well, I'm going to get out of here.
Yeah? Okay, Bill, 73,
Well,
and
be good, man.
We'll see you later.
73.
Yeah, Eric, what, you had a question?
Yeah, you had mentioned that you'd asked about the 13 colonies. Did you work it? Did you work any of the stations?
You know, I didn't. I'm so tied up with this show, and this studio basically is sitting right in the middle of my shack, and it's causing me. Let me take my earphones off here. I think I hear you with that. It just kind of gets in the way. Let me take this camera. I'll show you kind of the shack. Let's see. There's a workbench over there. You can see I've got blue screen all on the wall back here, but
right.
So I got part of my workbench covered up with blue screen, and I've got this setting right in the middle of the floor, and then you come around to the operating side over here, and there's my operating stuff right here, and of course you can see it's covered. Let me uncover some of it. So there we go. So I don't know. I don't. I can't get motivated to get in here and operate much because the stuff's right in the middle. It's right in the middle of my floor here in the shack, and I used to like to do a lot of building. I kind of got this where I can have 3 or 4 feet of my workbench here where I can work, but I just feel crowded, you know.
Yeah, no, I feel you there. So that's a TS2000. Is that an 811H over there?
Well, yeah, it's let's see, we got there's a, let me see if I can get close. There's an old 820 with the antenna tuner and speaker and 820 and then a VFO. And then there's a TS2000 and 2000 and there's a 570 right there. And then I've got HT right there. I took my mobile 220 out. I got a problem with my mobile 220, so I put a HT in for 220 here. And then I've got some D-Star. There's an 880 up there, and then there's another dual bander under the shelf there. And yeah, I don't know. I'd like to. I don't know. I got it someday. Maybe I'll have more time Right now, I don't have time.
We appreciate. I know. I probably speak for every viewer. We appreciate everything you do. I know it takes a lot of time out of your personal, and I just. It's a real blast. I mean, it was great having Doug on. I mean, that was really cool of him to just kind of, the times he got up, the live streaming. It's a lot of fun. If my father was still with us, he was a ham since I got my ticket at age 12. I'm 38 now. My dad got his at like probably about my age, and he'd be watching this.
Yeah.
He just, it's amazing what like social media and even the plain old internet has done for the great hobby. It really is. It just gives us more to do.
So
you do a great show.
So are you seeing? I'm not sure what camera. Are you seeing me? Are you seeing a blue screen behind me right now? A blue screen behind me?
On the Hangout, yes. On W5KUB, I'm seeing the W5KUB.
Yeah. Oh, when I was giving you a tour there with the camera on Hangout, you weren't seeing that, were you?
No, I switched over to the phone. I put the feed back up on the
okay.
phone.
So I don't know why that didn't switch. Let me see something here. Something happened. Something happened. Let me try to switch that again. That's interesting. It didn't switch. My camera didn't switch. I bet you in my setup here. Yeah. Well, man, I don't even see it in here now. Something happened where Hangout's not seeing my my webcast cam, and it has been in the past, so I'm not sure what's causing that. Well, that's not it.
And that's why it doesn't take anything down. I can imagine how.
Yeah. Boy, I tell you, don't know what happened there. That's interesting. That's very interesting.
It's burning. That's not good.
It was working on Skype. It was going both ways on Skype. It's just here. It's not doing it. That's weird.
I saw a question in the chat room from Jerry, W8RQM, asked if you ever worked the satellites with the Kenwood TS2000.
Yeah, I have worked satellites with the 2000. Let me go back. Most of my satellite operation was mainly the FM birds, much easier to work. That's where I talked to Colonel Doug, hundreds of times. But of course, some of the easy FM birds are, quit working, and there's not as many up there now. There are going to be a few more coming up soon. But I did use the TS2000 for working the sideband birds. The sideband birds are a lot more difficult to work. I never really spent a lot of time mastering it, but I did make some contacts on sideband with the 2000. Even had the Orbitron software that tells me, where the satellite is and the frequency. Even had the Orbitron software connected to the TS2000, and it would adjust for Doppler shift. I guess it worked okay. So as the satellite passed over, you can see the frequency changing on the TS2000. It was actually adjusting the frequency. So I did use the 2000 for some sideband satellite. I did use the CAT controller part where the software actually changed the frequency.
Now when you're doing the satellites, do you have I cannot think of what the name of the satellite antennas are, or we're using just like verticals?
Well, a lot of things. You don't. Everything's relevant. I mean, for instance, people work the satellites and they work the space station on just a rubber ducky. Now, that's not the best, and probably people with better antennas are going to have better luck at it. But so rubber duckies work. I worked like the International Space Station 30 times 1 month when Doug was up there. And I worked them 3 days driving home from work, and just using the mobile rigs. And all that was just, you know, your 3 dB gain mobile antenna that's mounted on the truck. You know, that's what I used there. Now at home, I had a very small, and I don't have it back up right now. I have a azimuth elevation rotor. And I have a 5-element, not a long beam, not 11-element or dual stacked 11s. I had a single 5-element 2-meter beam, and I think I had I think it was a 10 or 11-element little short 440 beam on my azimuth elevation rotor. And so I would use the program and know, okay, it's going to be at this elevation, at this heading right now, and then I could, you know, actually bump the rotor and follow the satellite over, and that of course helps a lot when you can aim a directional antenna at the satellite. But also on that 2-meter azimuth elevation, the 2-meter 440 beams, on that mast up there, I had like a diamond dual band fiberglass antenna mounted, you know, a vertical mounted on there. But when you, and even you can use like that fiberglass vertical, you can work it because, you know, the pattern goes out to the sides, and of course as the satellite passes you, it's going to be to your side, and the whole pass may be to your side. It may come up and then go east of you and then down, you know, in the north. Or it may go directly over you. If it goes directly over you, the vertical's not real good. So by mounting that vertical, that fiberglass diamond vertical on my azimuth elevation rotor, so when I would tilt those beams back, say tilt those beams back 80 degrees, it would also tilt that vertical back 80 degrees. And then you can see the broad side of that vertical then works toward, you know, a satellite or ISS that's above you. So by tilting that vertical with those beams, I could actually use that vertical pretty effectively or efficiently to work satellite. I haven't worked it in a while. I'm thinking about trying to put my stuff back together, but I don't know. I've got a lot of trees around this house, and it's pretty much socked in with major leaves during the summertime. The question, Jerry asked a question about the TS2000. It does have a birdie, and I hated it when I got it, but I don't remember what satellite. He thinks it's on SO50, but there is a birdie right on the frequency of, I guess, the SO50 satellite. Now the thing about that is it's still useful somewhat, because when you get acquisition of satellite, you're not on that frequency. You're you're, I guess, higher in frequency, either higher or lower, I don't remember, but you're you know, a few kcs or so off that birdie, so you actually can hear pretty good and work the satellite until the Doppler shift brings you up just about on that frequency. Once you get on that frequency, you got those birdies, you're not going to hear it. But then as it moves on out and the frequency moves on out, that birdie gets weaker and weaker, and then you can probably work the satellite, you know, out on the far ends, you know, where you lose it or where you pick it up.
Yeah, it was the AO27 and the SO50 FM satellites that had the horrible birdie.
Yeah.
I read into it. I have a TS2000. I absolutely love it. I've used it to decode the ISS SSTV images, but never made contact. I never really tried it because I didn't have any of the. I didn't have no azimuth rotate. in eventually, maybe, never know. Maybe I'll have another house one day and get lucky. But yeah, like Jerry just said, that does sound like an interesting setup for the birds. I agree with Jerry there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I hate thinking about putting them. I may put them back up. In the wintertime, all the leaves are off the trees. I do have one area to my north and a little above me that I've got an opening. All of my when I moved in this house, I ran LMR 400 out to my antenna farm, 130 feet out behind the house, and I put conduit in the ground and buried the feed lines that go out to a junction out at the base of all my antennas, and I could switch about 6 or 7 antennas, select 6 or 7 different antennas out there. If I put the satellite system up, and out there where all these feed lines connect to that coax, I've got a very good grounding system, ground rods. I've got radials buried everywhere out there, so it's grounded good there. And then it comes 130 feet underground to the shack, and then I've got it grounded here where it comes in the shack. So, I've got some fairly good grounding for lightning on the HF antennas. If I put those VHF antennas up out there, VHF, UHF antennas up, I'll probably have to run cables directly over to the shack, and I don't like the idea that they probably will be more lightning prone to to pick up high intensity strikes nearby or whatever. So I've got right now all my VHF antennas, VHF UHF antennas that I'm using here at the house are verticals, like the diamond, the fiberglass dual bander and antennas like that. So I've got some antennas up for 2 meters and 440 and 220. I've got all those up in the attic, and they run through the attic and then down the wall to the shack. I've got a very high attic up here. It's probably 35 feet up in the air up there, a nice large high opening attic, and of course they're inside, and I would imagine if lightning hit outside somewhere they would still pick up quite a charge, but hey, I don't know. If lightning is going to hit those antennas, it's going to actually hit the roof too, so I just feel safer with them inside the attic up there than to put a lot of metal outside. I don't know why. Probably not much difference, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I used to have we used to do that. Have a couple of VHFs in the attic. I had a friend of mine that he had VHF stuff up. And he put up. He got hit twice by lightning for the VHF stuff. He pulled all his VHF stuff, then put his HF vertical up. Never got hit.
Yeah, I've been hit by lightning before. Yep. I had a tower. I had like 80 feet of tower up, and I was hit several times. And man, I mean, it did some damage. It fries your rotor, and if you got it hooked up to anything else, it's going to get it. And it's not fun. And I feel safer with the way I have my antennas in the feed line underground and grounded. You can never outguess lightning. It's going to do what it wants to do, and if it wants to get in those antennas, it's going to get in them, and it's going to come in the shack.
Yeah, I saw we were at a club meeting a couple months ago, and one of the guys was like, "So, what do you recommend? The best way to ground it?" And he says, "You bring your feed line in on one side of if you're like in the basement on one side, you put your shack on the other side, and if you get a lightning storm, you disconnect your antennas from the other side of the room, and that's how you save your equipment." And I said, "Well, that seems like a good idea. But then another friend said, well, but here's the problem. Lightning will find a way. We remember, I think it was, last year, was it Don AE5DW? I think he got hit last year. I remember him showing us the antenna.
Yeah.
And it just, and it was a dipole. I've heard so many people sit there and say, oh, you put up 20 dipoles, you'll never get struck by lightning.
Well, you will. You will.
That's an amazing one. I've
had
hearing that one.
Lightning is funny. I mean, hey, I had my antennas disconnected. This is 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago on that 570 over there, and we had a major lightning hit, and the antennas were disconnected. But guess what? It came in the phone line. It came in the power. And I think I'm not sure what the ground had to do with it, other than I'm sure the lightning went through that ground somehow to ground. But I know a lot of people, and I kind of disagree with this, but at a radio shop, I know a lot of people say they don't even ground their radios anymore because that does complete a path for lightning. But this particular case, it came in the phone. I had a phone patch. It came in through the phone patch. It fried the audio sections in the transceiver, I don't know. So it's I feel safer, like I say, with the underground feed line.
Yeah, I've heard that before too, with the underground feed line. I've heard that.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't have my. I forgot to bring it in today, but I was given a present by your co-host. Oh, yeah. My own VK0EK mug. Katie had sent me. I call your co-host.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah, she got me as a present, as one of the greatest. I love that. Is like that was so cool, and having them on was really cool too. I would love to do a de-expedition, but I want it to be like 75 degrees and beautiful.
Oh yeah. Well, I tell you, those guys down at Hurt Island, that was tough conditions. I mean, I talked to Dr. Bob, and I think that second night they were there, 70-mile-an-hour winds. They were in the tents, 70-mile-an-hour winds, and let me tell you, those tents, those blow up. They got the air ridges in them, and you get 70 miles an hour. He said those tents were making noise, and they were bouncing. And you just got to think about it. Here you are, it's wintertime, you're near Antarctica, 70-mile-an-hour winds. I'm sure the chill factor is down below zero. And hey, if that tent blows away, you can't jump in the car and run down to the nearest shelter somewhere. You're in a survival mode then. Another thing I did, and we were talking in the chat room, Jerry's talking about surge protect everything. Another thing I did on my work, my ham shack over there, everything runs on 110 over there. But what I did, I bought me one of these switch boxes. It's got the handle you pull down. It's got the knife switch inside that will disconnect, and it actually has 2 round glass fuses in it, and a handle will pull the knife down. I actually mounted that on the bottom of my desk here, and I run the AC power through it to all my power strips. And when I say I run the AC power through it, that knife switch box, of course it was made for 220. It had 2 fuses in it. What I did was I ran both sides of the 110 through that box. In other words, I ran the neutral through the left fuse and through the left part of the knife switch, and I ran the hot side of the 110, through the right side switch, through the right side fuse. So when I throw that switch, it completely disconnects me from the power line. If you really think about, you leave your rigs plugged into power and you just turn them off with a little thumb switch, I mean, you only got probably a 1/16 of an inch for it to jump there, where your switch turns on. So it's at least by putting its knife switch in there, when I bring that switch open, that knife switch opens the AC circuit, both the neutral and the hot, and it's a knife switch, and probably has a 3-inch clearance in there, So I did that. I saw a friend that had his like that, so I thought, hey, got to do what you can do to help protect stuff.
Yeah, you did. Dad used to joke, it's ground it all. We ground it all. We actually had 2 separate ground. And everything. We actually used to spend a lot of money on surge protectors, and they didn't protect. I wish I knew where they were. I know they're in a box, but it's like a $15 surge protector. It worked perfectly. It's like the best surge protector. We bought like 15 of them. They were the best. They did it. We had one that we took a lightning strike. It wasn't too close, but it was close enough, and it was. It also depends on the type. Now, do you have any of those? Remember those surge protectors that you could put the coax in and your Ethernet and everything like that? Have you ever used those?
Oh, yeah, I've seen power strips where you can plug. It actually protects like a phone line and your TV coax and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm sure that. I'm sure that gives a certain level of protection, but I'm telling you, if lightning hits that coax right outside the house there, I doubt that thing's going to do a lot.
Well, the guy from the power company, he used to work for the cable company, and then he worked for the power company. He's telling me stay away from those. He said it's like a nightmare. He says, think about it. You got your phone line, you got your cable line, and you got your power all coming into one. One gets hit, bye-bye.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to get out of here, guys, and I'm going to give me a bite to eat, and then I'll look at the video for tonight and see if I can edit off the music the first 15-20 minutes. That way, the show will start when you pull it up.
All right, Tom, a pleasure as always, and we will catch you next week.
All right, thanks a lot. See you later.
7-3, sir.
All right. Okay, thanks to everybody out there. I'll say good night to you, 73. Thanks for watching tonight. Hope you enjoyed the show.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.